Hi, a different subject today, astrology. Do the stars influence our lives? Of course they do. The sun is a star and its influence upon us is outstandingly profound. In many ways it rules our lives, day and night, night and day, temperatures, etc., etc., has a great influence on our life, has a great influence on the world. No one can dispute that. But what about distant stars? Or what about planets and satellites? Well, we know the moon has a great influence on us because it affects the tides. High tides, low tides, these affect our lives in many, many ways. And of course, our bodies are made up with a great deal of water, so the pull of the tides, there must be some sort of pull on our bodies as well. And it's been said there are such things as lunatics. Why lunatics? Because it's to do with lunar. Lunar meaning the influence of the moon upon the mind. So we know these things and they're pretty relevant. But what about the stars, the distant stars and the planets? Well, astrology is one of the oldest sciences, if you can call it a science, known to humankind. And of course, there's been lots and lots of studies done. But where does it fall down? It's in the interpretation. Now, people like astrologers draw up charts and they work out what time a person has been born, whereabouts they've been born, the angle of the stars and the planets on that person at that particular time, and they say this is how their life will probably evolve. Maybe they're right in a very general way. And I say a general way. For example, there might be Aries people with certain traits and people born under Sagittarius with other certain traits, broadly speaking. But they can't interpret a person's life because a person has free will. For example, even with the great influence of the sun, which tends to wake us up at dawn and get us out of bed. But we can decide, no, I'll pull the blankets up and stay in bed. It's a very, very tangible example of free will over the influence of our nearest star. So therefore we do have free will. I can recall way back in about 1984, I had a sister-in-law who was into astrology do a chart for me. And I also had somebody I'd never met. Also, I'd written away for this chart. And when the charts came back, hardly any relevant points coincided. One person said this, the other person said that. So obviously, it's in the interpretation that astrologers fall short. They might be able to hit on the generalities, but on the particular instances, and also they often don't take into account free will. They might take into account the propensities of this type of person born under these circumstances, but they cannot, an astrologer cannot tell you how your life is going to turn out. You determine that. I want you to make that very clear. So is there anything in their influence of the stars upon us? Of course there is. Of course. Absolutely. But does it take away our free will, our decision making in any way? I don't think so.